Outlet Liquor is the place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Outlet Liquor, official partner of the Buffalo Sabres.
Folks, welcome back to Trainwreck tonight. 359. It is October 7th, and it's not exactly a great time to be a Buffalo sports fan compared to 2 weeks ago. We got back-to-back losses for the Bills, including almost an inexplicable ending yesterday after a terrible start. And you want to talk about a terrible start, Bills are 0-2, and they haven't even played in North America yet. With that said, we got a great sponsor in Outlet Liquor for the show tonight, so strap in and let's go.
You don't stop, you don't stop. Follow me into the great unknown, where pink flamingos grow. Diet soda flows, and what you take magically regenerates. On supermarket shelves, the ovens clean themselves. You don't pay the tab till the last drop. So we all ride for nothing, 'cause this train never stops. We make a good team, me and you, we do. You can scratch my back, and I'll scratch my back too. And everyone is welcome at the party, yeah. People, more is more. Are we all on board? You don't pay the tab till the last drop. So we all ride for nothing, 'cause this train never stops.
Folks, welcome back to Trainwreck tonight. 359. Yeah, we got some issues with Buffalo sports. They're kind of a train wreck right now. Let's get them in here. Slick Saturday. We got Gatesy in the mobile gents. Not exactly a weekend we're gonna tell our children about for Buffalo sports this weekend.
Certainly one worth forgetting about. Sabres were in Prague, so thankfully it didn't have to be right in our face. But we were excited to get the season underway. I know we've only played one team so far, but a pretty lackluster game both times from the Sabres and earlier in the day nonetheless, so made it even more miserable. And then obviously last night, a heartbreaker in Houston after what looked like a comeback that we really didn't deserve, but we were going to get there somehow. And then I think we'll get into what really lost it, but an ending that none of us will really ever forget for bad reasons.
Yeah, I mean, at least the Buffalo Sabres are staying consistent and really building our expectations in the offseason. Fans are excited. And just a real kick to the dick first weekend, knocked us out of it. But a 2-game season. But it's, first up, we wanted the new Lindy Ruff era. And, of course, last night, Buffalo Bills, it almost made it worse that they played that bad. They got back into it. They had a shot to win that game, and they shoot themselves in the foot. So I'm sure we'll get into it more. But, Maniac, how are you feeling after this wonderful weekend?
I feel fucking terrible. Don't even talk to me about it, Gatesy, because let me tell you something. I'd rather be talking, about – I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers and, how impotent he is. I want to talk about – not how impotent Josh Allen is. That's not what I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about Sean McDermott's decision-making. I want to talk about Cardi B's decision-making when it comes to Stephon Diggs. Okay? Instead, I got to talk about these other topics because Buffalo sports teams can't take care of their business. They can't stand on their business. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, X. If you got any comments or any thoughts, hop right in. But yeah, both things behind the scenes for Gatesy. I'll start with the one. Your parents come to Rec Room yesterday. You bring your parents to Rec Room. The Gateseys are in the house, and the Bills do that to us. So terrible start, terrible finish. What's your guys, both your guys' takeaways the day after? Real quick, like 30 seconds. What do you guys like?
I think obviously everyone wants the big topic is McDermott and the time management at the end, but my big thing is Josh played terribly, very poorly, and I think we all should feel the need to speak on that because that even at the end there, when that time management was being poor on that 3rd and long, Josh could have connected to I think it was Curtis Samuel, and it felt like for the 5th time that game, just threw the ball a tad bit short. Receivers having to slide onto the ground to try and get one of these short balls from Josh Allen that you never really typically see. It's just such a rarity that when it happens, I mean, to me, that's inexcusable. I think the whole offense has a lot to work on still. None of those receivers could get open. And yeah, McDermott should hold himself accountable for the end as well.
It really showed how spoiled we have been as Bills fans the past, 5-6 years with Josh Allen. We see him now as Superman. We saw the wide receivers coming into this season. And we're like, Josh Allen is going to be able to make this work. He's going to be able to turn this, quote unquote, garbage into diamonds. And yesterday we saw, he's a human being. This is what this wide receiver room is. This is what this team would look like without Superman, behind center. So this on us a little bit, but I think it really just comes down to we need Josh Allen to play like he is the world's greatest football player week in, week out for this team to have a chance. And we saw yesterday that's, some days that's not feasible.
I will also say Khalil Shakir was greatly missed as well.
Khalil Shakir greatly missed, but I mean, at the end of the day,
if you're not going to make the passes, it doesn't matter. So
yeah, you got to make the plays if you're the receivers out there. And yeah, I do think some of the fault goes on Josh Allen yesterday. I'm just thinking right out the bat, I don't know if it was him or Hollins on the deep ball, but you got to miss there. There was one to Kincaid over the middle that he puts a little bit lower loft on, could easily be a touchdown. And Kincaid's here in a lot of heat too, so for his lack of production. So it's an ecosystem when one part's struggling, the other part's going to struggle. And it's like that for, the entire offense. Because I think, going into this this season, we wanted to replicate what Kansas City did the last 2 years, where they were able to kind of ragtag group and kind of put together a good unit because they had an elite quarterback. But so far, it hasn't been the same, whether it's due to scheming or whether due to lack of playmaking when they're getting the opportunity. With that said, so we've already talked about some of the things we're feeling on this Misery Monday. Thank you for tuning in across the platforms. With that said, I'll ask you guys, more bothersome at this point to you, lack of receiver production or McDermott decision-making? One's obviously been going on a lot longer, but one kind of affects us in the immediate. Slick?
For me, it's definitely McDermott decision-making, and I've been a McDermott guy the entire way through. Obviously, last season, he had some tough moments, and people were trying to put him on the hot seat. I never think he really got there, but these moments are starting to add up where he manages time inexplicably and just seemingly like anyone that has a football brain could do the exact opposite that will probably work better in our favor. And not probably, will for sure. I mean, just run the ball at the end there. It's very simple. The receiver production, this is one game where no one could really figure it out. I mean, I suppose Baltimore, it was the same thing, but there were still the flashes of good receiver production, and we know these guys can have good games. So I'm not really worried about that. They'll bounce back. They'll have their moments again, but these moments for McDermott are adding up, like I was saying. And I don't not believe in him, but they've definitely got to be looked at with a pretty good lens right now.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Slick on this because we knew what this wide receiver room was going into the season. And I think you'd be absurdly asinine to think that that group could flip a switch and become the group that was in years past. But Sean McDermott, we've had this conversation for like every single year that, he just makes some boneheaded mistakes at end of games where he somehow picks the wrong decision every single time when it matters the most for this team. We've seen it year in and year out on the biggest stages. Shit hits the fan, and it's, the Bills fans that are always kind of calling for these changes to be made. I mean, even at Rec Room yesterday, Maniac, the guy standing next to us calling plays, I think I'd rather have him behind the helm calling plays for the Buffalo Bills in crunch time compared to McDermott or what we've seen, last week with Brady with the trick play. You kind of name it. It's really been the worst possible scenario for this team seems to happen when it matters most. And unfortunately, it's out of the players' hands. It feels like it's where it's, you put all this money into Josh Allen, you put all this money into the whole team, and they just shoot themselves in the foot week in and week out. You build the hype up, you build the team up, you get around it, even in a game like that, and you blow it at the very end. You had all the chances in the world. Texans were giving the Bills the game at the end too, with all the penalties, the turnovers, and they couldn't capitalize on it at all.
I think too the decision not to challenge that Kincaid catch was for a guy that is pretty willy-nilly to throw the challenge flag at some pretty dumb moments. Maniac, I think you commented about it on Twitter. I mean, like, that's one where I would have expected red on the ground immediately.
Yeah. So what were the two biggest issues like that people are pissed at McDermott about, right? It's probably the challenge and then the end of game sequence. And again, it's Joe Brady, but it's like McDermott because McDermott, Joe Brady's McDermott's guy at the end of the day. With that said, I look at it and it's like if either of those situations were flipped, if he challenges it and they lose, or if they run it 3 times and they don't get it and it happens the same, I feel like we've just seen that scenario before. So it's like, yeah, I do hold McDermott accountable, and yeah, I do think like I'm pissed at him. Like he's fucked up. That's what when you fuck up, like like it's like when you have to give bad news, like as a company. Like you get out in front of it most of the time and like give a statement or something, or like, you kind of own it. So that way you can quote, get out in front of it. That's what McDermott was doing when he goes to his press conference yesterday. And he's like, that's on me. Like, like that end of game situation was on me. He knows it's such a bad fuck up that he basically has to take accountability. He has to jump on the grenade at that point for a Jersey Shore reference. But yeah. There's just no decision. But speaking of which, obviously you guys probably have McDermott pretty high at the list of Bills issues right now. Is he number one amongst these 5 things? McDermott, receivers, Coach Joe, safeties, and injuries?
I think injuries and safeties outweigh anything on the coaching side of the staff right now. And that seems to be a common theme, unfortunately for us. Milano, before the season even starts, after we're all looking forward to that key piece, that cornerstone of the defense being back. And the defense has stepped up in a couple situations, but lately it just hasn't been good enough. Even getting Terrell Bernard back yesterday wasn't totally enough to do it on the defensive side. He wasn't even finding the ball much until that interception late in the game. So I got to put injuries, safeties over, but I'd say McDermott's right at 3 receivers, and I don't have a reason to put any blame on Coach Joe as of right now. People might feel otherwise, but as far as the decision making down the stretch yesterday, that was all coming through McDermott as far as I'm concerned. Play calling obviously was situational in that given moment, so yeah, no problems with Coach Joe right now.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Slick on this too. Like a lot of it comes down to injury, and right now I think the easy blame and rightful blame does go to McDermott. But think about everything that's led to this moment where these key injuries, the team just not where it was in years prior. And yeah, that falls on McDermott in some capacity in terms of kind of just the game yesterday and the mismanagement. And I think a lot of that's just how it's been building up since his tenure here in Buffalo, where these little plays at the end of the game where they just seem like the obvious play is just being missed on the right ideas. I think that's really kind of growing on fans. Like if this was a one-off thing, we're not having this conversation today, but it just keeps building. I feel like each year.
So Maniac, I feel like there was 2 over the shoulders to Hollins that were both missed.
Yeah. There was one early in the game that was a double move. That
the
was
one early, I think that was on Allen. That was an overthrow. This just goes right through Mac's hand. Like it's right in the breadbasket.
The big thing for this one, though, which Sneaky Joe pointed out, and we're going to run this 2 more times. Look at it. Look at McDermott. You got him right here. So they miss, and he's saying we should be going for the first down. So listen, I'm with you. Like that. Like what was the first thing I said about Coach Joe? I said he's McDermott's guy. So at the end of the day, you got to take accountability for that. But you can see that there's clearly a schism. Like McDermott wasn't like, let's throw it 30 to 40 yards downfield. As a matter of fact, the one thing that made the most sense to me that I saw was like their plan was that if it was a touchback, they were like to the 20, you know what I mean? They were going to go for it. They were going to try and get 30 to 40 yards. And then it's like the ball landed at the 2 and they kept the same plan. Like they didn't change the plan that they had for a touchdown. That was really fucked up.
Well, you see that, yeah, that's my thing. Like, if like you're implying with him like saying we should be going for first down, you're pointing that back on the blame to Coach Joe. The reason I said right there is I can't even blame him still. Like, if it's situational, I'm assuming McDermott's the guy that's making the call. Like, no, we're gonna try and get down the field as many times as we can on this drive instead of just run it and burn their timeouts. So then Coach Joe goes into his playbook of what he can do to try and get down the field quickly. Whether that's the case, I don't know. But if it's that situational, I think McDermott's the guy giving him the idea of what they want to do on that last drive. And if it's not burn timeouts, then I don't see why McDermott can be complaining too much, because that throw was on the money and Mac just didn't catch it.
Real quick, though. So for your power ranking problems, you got injuries, safeties, McDermott, receivers, Coach Joe?
Yeah.
Okay, Gatesy, what you got?
I'll go injuries, receivers, McDermott, safeties, and what was the fifth one?
Coach Joe.
Yeah, Coach Joe's dead last.
I just think the injuries aren't getting enough like burn after the last two games for sure. Again, I get it; they happen to everyone, so it's like kind of like you're not allowed to like use the excuse or whatever. But they're definitely affecting the team the most, and I think they're the biggest difference. I had what are we expecting more the remainder of the way? The 3-0 start or the 0-2 continuation? But I feel like that's really going to be dependent on the health of the roster. I think if they could form up here and get healthy and get continuity, they'll be fine. But if they can't stay healthy and continue to have inconsistent roster and issues there, that'll be a bigger issue. We got Jay Hatch. What does he say? You know how many receivers drop balls against the Texans a lot? It was only 10 top balls out of 25 or more. That means our receivers ain't catching the ball. Enough said, Joey Hatch on Facebook.
I think it's more even our receivers just can't get open.
Oh, there's no separation almost. But at the same time, then you look at the fourth down, right? Like it was just literally a 5-yard curl that Coleman was able to catch, make a man miss. So Stevie Johnson made a good point. Like I think Coach Joe came in originally, right, last year. And there were some very easy things that he was able to improve. Let's run Allen more. Let's use play action to create time in the pocket, etc. We were like, because Allen was basically just a statue there throwing deep 90 miles per hour under Dorsey. Now defenses have adjusted a little bit, and I think Coach Joe actually just needs to tone it back. I think we need to go a little bit simpler. We need to make it easier for these receivers, especially from what you're seeing. So let's put them in a better opportunity to be successful. My power rankings are the problems. I got injuries. I will put McDermott and receivers tied at 2. And then I'm going to put Coach Joe at 3 because Coach Joe should be coaching up the scheme and getting better. And I'm putting the safeties 4, even though they are an issue. That's the McDermott coaching to me. That's the Babbage coaching, tree to me. So that's why I got them lined up that way. If you got any thoughts on Instagram, let us know. Blitzkrieg says everyone eats it right now. We starving. All right, that's fine. I get it. The offense is not good. With that said, putting a wrap on the Bills stuff here and talking about the much more optimistic Sabres talk. Easiest way for them to get on track. What is it? Making it more simple? Is it facing Aaron Rodgers and the Jets? What's the easiest way here?
Yeah, I think that definitely helps. Jets stink right now, bottom line. So that's a nice rebound to have. Monday Night Football, though, against the Jets in New Jersey, always worries me just a little bit. I think you let James cook, and you got to tighten this defense up somehow. And with the receivers, I don't even know, man. Simplify it for sure. Check downs, but that ties right back into letting James cook. There's a lot of things that need to be answered, and hopefully Coach Joe can turn it around and McDermott maybe get his head back in the game. What do you think, Gatesy?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought was just to not play the Texans or the Ravens, play some bad NFL teams again, and get the team back on track, build some confidence. But I think a lot of it is just kind of hoping and praying things kind of click again. I mean, losing Shakir, I think was a much bigger deal than a lot of us thought going into it. He seemed to be like dominating at a lot of times, and we lost that this past game. But yeah, I think playing the Jets and showing that this team is still the Buffalo Bills, still a great football team. It can take it 2 teams, I think will do wonders for, the team itself, but also, us as fans, gives a little relief that, that window's still open. This team is still good. And yeah, we shouldn't hit the panic button right now.
Yeah, I think I think there are some. What did I do? What are you laughing at, Slick?
No. I'm just looking at this comment. I have no idea who he's talking about.
Yeah. That's definitely talking about Gatesy. Look at McDaniel's hair right now versus
Yeah,
Gatesy
maybe.
for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, AJ Cherry. Shout out everybody tuning in on Facebook. You throw a comment up, we're gonna talk about it. Red
No, I
flags.
wasn't laughing at you for once, but it might have seemed like it.
Mark Hendrickson goes, red flags up your loyal fan asses. I don't know what that means, but yeah, I think that no matter what, there are some no-brainer things the Bills can do to get back on the path, for success and get back on the road to potentially postseason. We'll see. But speaking of no-brainer things, get to Outlet Liquor where you can take advantage of their no-brainer store-wide bottle bundle deals. So what you see here, any champagne or wine, $13.99 or less. When you buy 3 or more bottles, $2 off each bottle of wine. So essentially you're buying 5 or 6, you're almost getting 1 free with the tax there. So get to Outlet Liquor, your place to buy a case where no-brainers are easier than ever. The Sabres dropped a deuce in Prague. There is no spin zone about this. I got nothing. I got nothing, boys.
Yeah, it's tough because you go into the season and it's like Lindy's got to put the pressure on these guys to play with heart, which is something Sabres organizations have lacked now for seemingly a decade. It's just the passion and heart. Even talking to Pat Coletta in Seneca 1 before that first game, it's just that's the first thing he says they're going to bring, and we don't see any of that, especially from even guys like Alex Tuck too. Like, where is the heart, man? And this, I was hearing a lot too. I was worried about the defense, like I always am. I don't think we have necessarily a great defense. The pairings aren't great either. And then everyone's like, no, but we're so deep. And it's like, are we? Is Samuelson's botching plays? Yoki Haru's doing the same old shit. Dahlin's taking selfish penalties, but don't even get me started on the selfish penalties because that was basically our whole team game too. And I don't know, just a lot not cutting it right now. I know it's early, 2 games. Devils, AJ Cherry thinks I look like McDaniels. So
my biggest thing, Gatesy, is just that it felt exactly like these last 2 to 3 years. It was the perfect representation. You had one game where you just got shellacked and you lost, like you never had a chance, that you never got off the bus, as they say. And then you had another game where you almost grinded it out. You almost found yourself in a position to win, but not quite. And you let it, kind of trickle away in that last 30 minutes there. So it felt like, again, all the problems that have plagued them the last 3 years feels like we're just running it back.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it was. I think a lot of it we did see, especially even worse because it was on a national stage. It opened up the NHL season. We had so much hype. Lindy Ruff coming back. We built this out to be such a bigger deal than it turned out to be. And, hands up, I was a part of that. Like, I did believe that this team, could take that step in a quick time. I'm not saying that that's over. Obviously, we're 2 games into the season, but I got some breaking news. We have a 13-minute goals against with Gatesy coming out after this is out. As long as this can, I'm trying to upload it all day. We're working on it. Crossing Swords on Twitter. But a lot of the mistakes that resulted in these Sabres goals, a lot of it had to do with system and effort. And a lot of the bad effort plays came down to Alex Tuck, which is, I think, absurdly disheartening because he's the guy that's supposed to be the lifeblood of this team. He's going to be the heartbeat of this team. And the guy that really wants that and was in talks for wearing the C on his chest. And I think it was like 3 or 4 goals throughout that weekend where he just gave up on plays and resulted in pucks going in the back of the Sabres net. And that can't be happening for this team. And I think these issues can be solved. A lot of it's like system stuff, but the heart is what's really concerning because the Sabres team is young. They should be hungry. After the past 13 years, I know it's not on this core, the 13 years, but they should find some solace in being the group that finally gets over the hurdle. We look at the Buffalo Bills when they broke their drought. So many of those players are icons now in the city of Buffalo. So many of those moments from that year live in our memories forever. This Sabres team can do the same thing, but don't look like they want that at all, Maniac.
Yeah, a little disconcerting that it's Tuck for sure. And that was one of the big plays that people were kind of harping on because I love nothing more than arguing with loyal fans after a loss for sure. But people are making fun of Samuelson on that play on the 2-on-1 goal. I'm like, that's like making fun of Captain John Smith because of the Titanic crash. Like we had the one guy who's actually like trying to be reasonable and fix all this, and you're going to make fun of him? Like, are you serious?
Samuelson did great to get back to force that to be a 2-on-1, and Alex Tuch did not take a single stride in from the blue line, and that's all I could see on camera. I can't see outside of that. Did not take a single stride in. Because of that, they got the 2-on-1 back of the net, tied 1-1 midway through the third period. Doesn't back check a lick. So anyone throwing shame at Samuelson, I don't know what that's about on that side.
Yeah, well, I might have said him, but speaking of heart too, where the hell is Dylan Cousins? I mean, come on, dog. You're supposed to be like a top 3 goal scorer on this team. And I want to know how you feel, Gatesy, about this too, because you're a goalie. I was shocked by this as well.
Oh, this play, I'm glad Yoki Haru did not do anything about it. The Sabres were down 2 with 6 minutes to go. The last thing the Buffalo Sabres needed to do was to call off a 2-minute penalty at that point. They weren't dead. They weren't out of it. And as a goalie, I hated when my defenseman did that shit, because I'd much rather deal with that than have to kill off a penalty after the fact, after just giving up a goal. I think that is asinine. You look at the video as well. It was not intentional at all by the New Jersey Devils player. The puck was right on top of Levi. The guy was coming with a full head of steam. He basically hit the puck when he was on top of Levi at that point. Unintentional. And if Yoki Haru does anything, Sabres are going to kill a penalty. The game's already done at that point. But they had 6 minutes to go. At least had a shot to try to get 1, maybe get 2, and make the game interesting. I don't see the point in getting shorthanded to rough a guy up that wasn't intentional. Like, if it's a Lucic on Miller situation, obviously you go kill the guy. But something like that, not intentional. What heart is going to be cross-checking a guy? That's Bush League, in my opinion. Like, try to score a goal. Let's try to do that for a change.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, Gazy. It occurs in the first period, second period. Even if you're down 2 goals, you're probably doing something then. Third period, stretch run of the game, you would basically be death sentencing your team with a penalty there. I get it. Again, there's just a time for it, and there's a time like to not do it. Like, for example, when Milan Lucic ran over Ryan Miller, it was a 1-0 game in Boston that the Sabres were currently winning in the first period. It was a
that's like the scummiest.
It was literally a no fucking brainer that you should absolutely crush him and kill him, like by hockey standards. Yeah. But yeah, they didn't. So again, every situation's different. It sucks that it definitely happened, but like you said, Gates, it definitely wasn't on purpose. And so I think you got to kind of factor that in. With that said, let's try this one as we kind of go down the wind of Trainwreck tonight. 3:59. Bigger juncture, next 20 games for the Sabres or next 4 games for the Bills?
Can I punt?
I would say next 4 games for the Bills, just because I think the Sabres could survive if they go like 8-11-1 or something. I don't know if the Bills can survive if they drop like a 1-3.
Yeah, I'm going to say next 4 games for the Bills too, just because the Sabres could also win the next 20 games and then go on to lose like the rest of the season. And we'd still all be here having the same exact conversations. And if the Bills lose the next 4, we're pretty much not eliminated, but not looking good at all. And it's a much shorter season. You really got to put it into perspective, the length of these and what that amount of games means for the season. And like I said, Sabres have impressed us early in the season in the years past, and we are still on a 14-year playoff drought. So,
yeah, I mean, it's got to be the Bills, just expectations and who they're playing. Sabres just go 500 in this 20 games, be fine. Phil looking handsome over there as always. But yeah, the Bills, you got to take care of business against the Jets.
Last couple weeks, so yeah, big juncture for Phil these next couple weeks. He's got to make sure he doesn't mess around on his cone. But yeah, so we'll see. But for us, big juncture this next week. We got Sports City tonight. We'll be hopping around. We'll be having some fun for the Yankees game on Monday Night Football. We'll be stopping there Wednesday as well. There's football on. There'll be Yankees games. We'll be following the Yankees as long as they're going. And of course, if it's a game day, we're going to Sports City. We got 43 North and the startup competition on Thursday, as well as the Sabres home North America opener. And then we got the Shakir family pet adoption event at Resurgence on Saturday. So awesome. Huge weekend gearing up for Monday Night Football. And also that's going to be the Resurgence event will be a pre-party for the Sabres game later that night. So a lot to be excited about, a lot to get pumped about. With that said, anything we shout out or sign up before we get out of here?
I'm gonna
Shout out
shout out.
WWE. Shout out my guy Phil Brooks for just putting on a great performance. No doubt he's got to be so happy with everything going on, and no doubt. Like, I mean, if I can say 3 words right now, watch out, Gunther.
Oh my God. I'm gonna give a shout out to the final boss, who I'm excited to see on my weekly television again, and a shout out to Alex Potan Pereira, who defended his UFC light heavyweight title over the weekend, TKO in round 4. He's looking like the baddest man on the planet right now. So hopefully the reign continues.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to just who's ever given out the height to the Trainwreck sports members, because met a lot of the guys this past weekend, and I swear we could run a mean 5-man basketball team with some of the height we have, because it was a little jarring for Slick and I'll be honest.
Healthy Buffalo men's league, watch out, because I know captain left, but we got some dogs on this squad.
Yeah, we might have to link in like a podcaster's bracket in the crossbar 3v3 for next year for sure. But looking forward to that. And make sure you're looking forward to all the episodes of Trainwreck Tonight, weekly on Mondays. We got Slick Saturday on Saturdays with all your UFC in action there. We'll be doing more gambling, obviously, for October and the remainder of football season. Of course, Crossing Swords. New episodes every Saturday. So make sure you're following Gatesy35. Make sure you're following Slick716. And make sure you're following Trainwreck Sports, because that this train never stops, and it is going to turn around. These last week has not been great. This last 9 days not been great, but it will turn around. It will change, and we will have a good night now.